So the benefit of empathy is empathy can help you understand ideas, art, and literature deeply.
This one is a part of using your empathy on things other than people. And when I researched empathy for the book, I discovered that empathy came into the English language in 1909, which really surprised me. That's late for a word to come into the English language. And it didn't come from Latin. Like, I would have think empathy, sympathy, apathy would have come in at the same time, but it didn't. And it came from a German word called Einfühlung. And Einfühlung was created by the German aesthetic movement as people were trying to figure out, when I stand in front of a painting and I feel emotions from the painting, or when I listen to music and I feel the emotional intensity of the composer, what in the world am I doing? How is that happening? How is emotion being transferred from the paper or the canvas or the sound to me? And so that was what these people were trying to figure out, and the word Einfühlung means in, feeling, or feeling into. So it's your capacity to enter into a piece of art or literature or a movie or a dance and to glean the emotional information from it, to glean empathic information from it. So for those people who come to me and say, I'm a hyper empath and I can't handle things, what I will tend to have them do is not shut it down, but I say, turn your empathy toward non-human things, because it is manageable, right? It is manageable, and then you don't have to shut your empathy down, but just find ways to replace, turn away from people for a minute, because yes, they are confusing, but let's make sure that you understand that your empathy is a gift, and that and you will find that most people who are hyper empathic already are doing some kind of art, some kind of dance, some kind of music, where they're engaging with it. So I think that for me has been one of the most helpful things in writing the book, because what I could then do was include people who have been exiled from empathy, autistic people, most of whom have intense special interests in something that they pour their whole heart and soul into. And the fact that it's a non-human thing, like trains or mathematics or a television show or something like that, this has been sort of hiding the empathy that autistic people have, because it's not being focused on people for the most part. So it'd say, well, they're not empathic. I say, well, if you were to look at me as a child, you would have said the same thing, because I couldn't deal with people at all. They're confusing, right? So understanding that empathy is not restricted to humans helps open up the entire process of empathy, and it also helps me as I work with hyperempathic people to give them another option while we help them understand emotions and get their skills in that area working.
Okay, so when people, might have difficulty empathizing or having struggles empathizing or being overwhelmed by empathizing with people, you can shift that to empathizing with things or art, and it's kind of more manageable. So it's almost like you're practicing. You can kind of practice and get maybe your empathy in that sense. And I did have a experience where I went to these New Age, the Expo, here in San Francisco, and they have all these booths, and there was a booth with crystals, and I was kind of asking, well, tell me about. I was interviewing people about their booth and how it related to empathy. Yeah. And the woman said, well, see, here's this crystal. What is it saying to you? and at first I thought, oh, that, I think all that stuff's all kind of weird. But then I really thought, this is really what the Einfühlung in the art was. Is that crystal is saying something to you in the sense that you're empathizing, feeling your way into the experience. Yeah. And I really kind of saw it. I thought, oh, this is really what the Einfühlung was, is that this crystal has different shapes and forms that have a visceral bodily experience for me. And I can kind of have a conversation with those different experiences. So this was kind of taking the thing that you're talking about. I mean, all of life. You look at a tree and the way the tree is, if it's tall and slender, it has a different feel to it than a big bushy tree or a heavy solid oak tree or something.
Yeah, yeah. I was just thinking of, I have friends who, for instance, do tarot readings or astrology or tea leaves, or something like that. And what I look at it as is a way for them to put their deep understanding of humans into a thing, if you hear what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
So through the tea leaves, they are reading me, or they're interacting with me in ways that maybe we don't have a open place for. For people really to see you, usually you would have to go to a therapist, or someone who's doing these readings. But I see the same process happening where people are using this as a way into human interaction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that one I can sort of see that kind of different things come up in terms of empathy through mirror neurons, where if I see something, an emotion or a shape, I can kind of feel it in myself, versus maybe an imaginative, where I can start, adding imagination to something like maybe tarot cards. I don't know if that kind of resonates.
Yeah, I think so. There are so many things. I've had a number of people write to me and say, I don't have empathy. And I always write back and say, can you read fiction? Can you watch movies? And they'll say, well, of course, I have this, that. And I said, then boom, you have empathy. It's just not for people.
Yeah.
And that is completely understandable. That is completely so when people say I don't have empathy, I always ask them to look, where do you do your perspective taking? Can you understand the characters in a novel or in a movie? Or can you listen to a song and understand what's being transmitted? Then you've got empathy. So let's start there.
I like that. It's like I don't have binocular vision. Binocular vision is where the eyes kind of merge the image into one.
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason, I never really developed that. I have, I kind of suppressed the vision in one eye. And I went to the binocular vision center, where they try to have you kind of merge the image.
Mm-hmm.
And they need to find one point where the two eyes merge the image. And then from that point, you can start learning and training yourself to expand that you create the one image in your brain of the two eyes.
Oh, wow.
So this reminds me a little bit of that, in the sense that you're saying, okay, here's your experience of empathy. Where is the one, of the world? Where is the point where you have empathy for something? And then you can kind of connect to that, and then you can kind of expand the empathy, from that point.
Yeah, I like that analogy.
And that's it too, that you can use the empathy then to understand art. You can feel your way into art. You can feel your way into ideas. You can feel your way into literature. So the empathy comes in. It's really about, I guess that's what you're saying, is it has the benefit of fostering our connection, understanding with those forms.
Yeah, it's an all-purpose skill.
Where would we be without empathy?